Perfect. And I'm going to start so that we can hopefully end on some time, whether it is exactly time. So let me get to here.
You want to come up?
And let's get to here. And Jennifer Mead's on with us. And for any of you who were here recently for the virtual training, Jennifer wrote a virtual curriculum for us this year. And Jennifer's in Fremont School District. She's been a lead teacher there for a long time. And some of you had her for trainings in various places that we happened to be, like Greg. You had her down in San Diego. We've been around. So she's joining us, and we'll tell you a little bit about what she put together as well. Oh, that did not start at the beginning at all. Okay, let's get back. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we first wanted to welcome you all and say how happy that we are to have you here. I know, as Rachel Maddow would say, there are many other places you could be right now. And so we are very glad to have you be with us. So we'll start. And what we're going to ask you to do right at the beginning is, if you wouldn't mind, in the chat box, putting in your name, your email, and actually, if you have a grade level that you teach, put that in as well. And I will send you a copy of this presentation after we finish today. So you have all the information. You don't have to do a whole lot of writing. So we're
also going to send out the virtual video.
The links to the virtual video, absolutely. Okay, so Invention Convention. We wanted to introduce it to people who were new, but also to people who've been here before, and just give you a little bit of a refresher of what we're all about. And this quote by Seymour Papert always holds true for me. The role of a teacher is to create the conditions for invention rather than provide ready-made knowledge. And so that's what the convention is all about, to give kids an opportunity to create and not just to reiterate. And so Jennifer and I are going to be the two people who are going to provide some instruction today. And Jennifer, you want to say anything more about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so I got involved with Brenda several years back, and my son's been through the program. I've also involved 30 of my students each year in the program and done some PLC work, professional learning community work in my district, and got several schools involved. And then I've met several of you at trainings that Brenda and I have done around the state. And I'm just so happy that we can spread this word and start a movement of invention education. It all started because of this item Brenda has in her hand. I was knitting a carrot on an airplane, and her granddaughter asked, "What is she doing?" And so we struck up a conversation at midnight on a shuttle going back to get our cars, and found we were both in Santa Cruz. And it was November. I was getting my son involved in science fair, and Brenda gave me her card, and I said, "You have a choice. You can do science fair or you can do invention education." After I called Brenda, and she trained me in her guest room. And
we are now.
Because I had to start on Monday, the day after Thanksgiving break. So it all began with serendipity. And I think that we should teach children that life is about opportunities. And if we provide this kind of opportunity for children, the world around us and the world for them will open wide and be a different place. So I'm very grateful to be involved with Brenda.
And for those of you who don't know me, I was an educator. I was a teacher in the 3rd, 4th grade in Rona Park years ago. And I had a very diverse group of students, 60 of them. We had 2 classes together, and between us, we had gifted students and students with multi-language abilities, and kids who had learning disabilities, and we had just a whole range, and we were looking for a program that might meet their needs, and discovered this, and we've been doing it ever since. So we're hoping that today we're going to prepare you to help your kids be able to be part of the California Invention Convention program, and ultimately be able to come up with a problem that they in their own lives have, and be able to solve that problem somehow. So by the end of the time today, you'll be hopefully pretty familiar with what the program is and feel comfortable using the curriculum, and you'll understand what the value of the invention log is that we'll show you as well, and that you will feel that this is something that you want to do with your students. Every teacher that we've had that's become involved with this, and we've now got over 4,500 students in California, and we're about to have a whole influx more. All of these students feel that this has been something that is somewhat life-changing for them, and their teachers have felt that it was life-changing for them. And we have kept every teacher who has been doing the program previously still doing it with kids. So I think it just speaks for itself that it is fun, it is creative, and it's something that teachers find engaging enough to want to stick with it. So our goals today is to increase student knowledge and experience with inventing, and to teach them the process that we use so that they will be able to participate in an invention convention. And we want them to build skills that will help them become inventors and prepare them to be able to participate in both our convention and be able to go on to the National Invention Convention that would take place in Dearborn, Michigan, at the Henry Ford, which is an absolutely incredible place to get to visit. However, due to the pandemic, they are looking at a virtual competition at the end of the year, as well as are we at this point. If something drastically changes due to some invention, we'll all be very happy. But at this moment, that's what we're expecting. So here's the inspiration we have for you. The moment your students have an audience for their work that exists outside the walls of your school, you've made the work in your classroom relevant, important, and shown your students that they matter. And so you can ponder that as we go through this. And we're going to show you a few videos. Some of you have seen these before. We love them. I watch them a lot.
Welcome to NIC 2018. Inventing is so fun to me because you can create anything that you want that everyone will use in their everyday life. Just to see someone with your product and being happy with it is just like mind-blowing. I know everyone has some problems and issues, and I think inventions are great because they solve them. The best thing about inventing is a good chance to make new friends.
All across America and across the world, kids have been inventing inventions that solve problems in their lives. And they're bringing them here to the Henry Ford Museum of American Innovation, where they can present them side by side, the greatest innovations in history.
When you see thousands of kids and families and teachers getting together, all of them super excited about inventing, and all of them, they're just so proud to show what they came up with. It's super, super powerful.
21st century skills is all about using your creativity, using your innovation, using your power to solve. I've been an educator for over 30 years. I've never seen a tool that is as powerful as Invention Convention.
Before I did Invention Convention, I wanted to be a doctor, I wanted to be a firefighter, I wanted to be a teacher. And I started inventing. I fell in love with the engineering process. And that's when I started looking into science camp. And that's when I started getting so inspired to make sure that this is a part of my life forever.
A lot of people think that NICE is a contest, and it's really not. I mean, yes, we give some awards, but the truth is everybody here has gained. They've gained experience, they gain confidence, they gain the technical skills, and that makes them winners throughout their lives.
It was a life-changing experience, and I love to see people have a smile on their face when they have a problem that they need help with. And when I create inventions, it's like me giving back to my community.
So it's been amazing to see my daughter and her growth, being able to stand in front of an audience, in front of judges, people that she's never met before, and vocalize a story of how she took nothing and made it into something. And to see her progress through it all, it's just been a wonderful experience.
I was part of the Invention Convention as a second grader back in the day. And the same ideas that I use every day in industry, I used back then. Identifying my problem, understanding it, coming up with a solution, testing that solution.
Pollution is a huge problem and the world suffers from it every day. The snow straw is biodegradable and environmentally friendly. So plastic straws stay on our road forever, but ice straws, they just melt away when you're done. My friend Christopher, he got hit while he was playing lacrosse, and he got a concussion and he didn't know about it. What my product does is the sticker that goes on helmets. So when the sticker is hit with 95 Gs, it will turn red up here or down here. When you're going to use the oven, you would open the oven, grab the oven mat, and then you would flip it onto the inside of the oven, so that when you reach in, you won't get burned. And when you're finished, you would just grab the handle and flip it back outside. When you take a shower and you turn on the hot water, the water's not instantly hot. It's cold. So I wanted to find a way to save that water. When I use my hand towels in the bathroom or when guests come over, the next time I use them, which is the next day, they'll be all wet. And I decided that I will make an invention that will not only dry my towels for my next uses, but make sure that they're not stinky or stink up the bathroom. It is important to make something for the world because what if we didn't have cell phones, we couldn't call for help? And what if we didn't have cameras, we couldn't take pictures of moments that you really love? This is everyone's world, and I believe that everyone should try to be a part of making it a better place. If everyone pitches in and tries to do something to help a problem that they have, then eventually, someday, all the most important problems could be solved.
Okay, spoken from the hearts of young people. And a lot of these kids were originally, when we were doing the convention, 4th, 5th, 6th. Last year we had K-11 represented, and now we will be having K-12. And we are heading, I'm now a consultant with Lemelson MIT, and we are going to be teaming with colleges as well. So it's about to take a big leap forward. So we're going to start with something about invention and having your kids learn about what an invention actually is. And we started with this activity that would have been done in the classroom with each student receiving a bag. And in the bag would be an invention. But because of COVID, we turned it into a virtual activity, and Jennifer is going to give us a little demonstration of what it is.
Right. So because we're virtual, we can have slides with our kids, and it's hard to get bags out to them. So Brenda, will you go to the next slide? So if you put a slide like this up and you say to kids, okay, let's do 20 questions. What do you think is in bag letter A? Does anyone have a question? And then they would raise their virtual hands. And anyone have a question?
Oh.
So,
on, Mary, take a risk.
yeah. So you could say, is it living? Is it, so go ahead and open bag letter A. And it's this. Tell me about this. Is this an invention? And talk about, well, no, it's not an invention. Why isn't it an invention? And, you know, you wake them up any way you can by having that item, Kathy, I love it, that wakes them up and they're laughing and they'll tell you why it's not an invention. It's living. It wasn't man-made. Now let's look at B. What do you guess? tell me about this item. And then you talk about all the reasons why it is an invention. And do you know what this invention is used for? Finding objects that are novel and objects that they might not know how they're used, and then talk about how it has moving parts, talk about gears, talk about the crank. What is this item that's laying flat next to it used for? Oh, to secure it to the table. This is used as a pasta maker. You can make spaghetti, you can make raviolis, you can make a linguine, you can talk about different types of pasta and the versatility of an object, and just get the dialogue started. So which item is an invention? How do you know the item that you chose as an invention? Start listing some ideas, get some thinking maps going, have kids charting their ideas. And that can lead to cross-curricular writing. It can lead to investigation. It can lead to biographies. So looking at inventions and how a concept comes to mind. And why do we say that an item is an invention?
And we've done a lot of studies. It's very hard for kids to think that all inventions haven't already been invented, especially younger kids, but even older ones. You know, the world we live in is so full of things that they can't imagine that there needs to be much more than what they already are surrounded with. And so to really be able to explain that everything here, except for the natural world outside, is something that was created because of a need that someone had in his or her life, is a real awakening for some of our students. So what is an invention, and how do we define an invention? And we define it as a concept or improvement on something that already exists can be an invention. So you have a pencil there in the corner, and the first pencil is an invention. Having an eraser that gets added to it is an improvement on an invention, but we still call it an invention, even if it's an innovation. So students are allowed to have innovations on something that exists already. And a pen is an innovation on that first pencil, and that is an invention. So it's important for kids to understand that they can see things that they have been using forever and realize that they can improve upon some of those things. That the fact that they exist doesn't mean that they are in their final form, and they can still ideate. So characteristics of an invention that we as an invention convention define are that the item is useful, it didn't exist before, at least not as an innovated item, fills a need or solves a problem. It can be an item like the cell phone or backpacks, or an idea, a new method for tying a knot or ordering at a restaurant. And interestingly, I got to be in Jennifer's class yesterday, and the woman who is the director at the US Patent and Trademark Office, Julie Mason, who we will tell you more about shortly, was in there and telling us all about what can be patented. And that is a fascinating conversation. I learned so much from what she was teaching Jennifer's 4th grade class. And we realized we want Julie to come back and be able to talk to all of our teachers and talk about what is patenting, what is the process, what is patentable. It is a fascinating conversation. So it needs to be, it needs to make something better, possibly, faster, stronger, cheaper, easier, safer, more efficient, attractive, useful, accurate, fun, or productive, and makes the world a better place most of the time. When we ask students to come up with a problem in either their own lives or their families' lives, they will sometimes come up with something that is very unique for themselves. And sometimes they will start expanding that and come up with something that truly is something that more of the people in the world would be in a better way if they could create. So we've had every type of invention, and all of those are ones that we accept. And how will you know if your student has a new idea? Through research. And I don't know if Christine Braun is on here. She was going to be, but I got to be in her class today for a little while. And Christine's program is in Hillsborough. And Christine, are you on here? I don't know. Okay, so what her kids do for inventing is they went to the Oakland Zoo, or at least they met with the educator from the Oakland Zoo. And he explained what problems animals have at the zoo. And the kids had to design a toy that would help animals at the zoo. And they used the macaw, the python, the ball python, and the giraffe. And her kids created amazing toys for these animals at the zoo. And today they got to share them. And the educator from the zoo was on with us, along with several people from Lemelson MIT. And we were all just blown away by what they had created. So there are so many directions you could take this. It's just worth considering all the possibilities. So it's something that is researched, the problems research, the solutions research. The solution is either not like anything out there, or it offers an improvement. So the innovation idea. The inventor should be able to explain, and so this is a critical piece too. We will teach them, this whole process will, how to be better communicators and have the confidence to be able to communicate. And you will discover that with your kids. Some kids, I was watching a James Corden interview the other night, and his favorite people, one of them was a woman who started an acting school. And she said she did it because she was a flaming red person and her child was a lavender person. So I tried to understand what that meant, but what it meant was she was ready to act and just do performances immediately. Her child was intimidated to ever speak out or say a word, but she got involved in acting. And in that same way, kids become actors through invention, and they become so much more confident in their own lives, in anything else they're doing, that just for that reason alone, we think it is something worthwhile. So Jennifer, you want to explain the
Sure.
umbrella?
So yesterday when Julie Mason was in our class doing the USPTO presentation, it was the very first time that they've done a virtual presentation. She's available to do this now, and it was flawless. We even had our superintendent on, Brenda was on, several parents were on, and the adults and children learned so much. I mean, I took notes. My kids took notes about what they learned. They were writing, and we looked at a USPTO patent search on Google Patent. And if you just type in Google Patent or patents.google.com, it will take you to the Patent Office of the United States. If you go to the next slide, you'll see that you're going to want to limit your patent search. Each country has its own patent process. And so you're going to want students to limit what their searches are looking at. You want to limit it, first of all, to the US. Say they're coming up with an umbrella that is a wind resistant umbrella. You want to start with a very specific language, and then it will pull up. And if you notice on the right-hand side here, all these little tiny thumbnails are actually drawings that have been submitted to the USPTO, and they're actually patents that already exist. And so students can search through, do a preliminary search through to make sure their invention idea doesn't already exist. And once they've done the United States, they could broaden their patent search. For Brazil, you could search for France, you could search for China, wherever you're thinking that your invention might already exist. I usually have a USPTO meeting where parents come into the classroom and meet with students. That's not going to be an option this year. So, trying to brainstorm different ways to have students check, sending that slide to my parents and say, okay, meet with your child one-on-one. Your homework tonight is to have a 10-minute patent research moment with your parents, or search with another adult offline out of school time. So it's a great resource.
Okay, so the first step in the whole process is for kids to be able to identify a problem, either in their own lives or their families' lives or the community. And any problem that they believe they have is acceptable. It can have to do, and kids will often feel that they have no problems, that again, their world is like pretty perfect, they go to school, they do that. But if you start having them really look at what is something that bothered you today, when you were outside, or if you were driving somewhere with your mother and your sibling, did you have a problem in the car with your sister or your brother? And that's a problem. Is there some way that could be remedied by something you could make or create that would perhaps bide the time of each of you in the car? I mean, anything can be a problem, but it also can be something that is really a problem of much more import worldwide. And we've had kids come up with inventions. Jennifer's son came up with an invention for a neighbor that had Parkinson's disease, and he came up with an app that was a really wonderful app for music, that he realized in doing research, he realized that music is something that can really help people who have Parkinson's. So that is a type of a solution to a problem too. And what I can tell you is that most kids will end up coming up with a problem that is empathetic to another person. So they really see a problem that a kid's having. We had one of our winners one year was a student in Pajaro, and he was at Hall District Elementary. And his problem was that he had a friend who was being bullied when he wore his hearing aids. And so he would get very upset by that. And he finally created a little device that looked like a gecko that could fit right over the ear. And he wore it. The kid who had the hearing aid wore it, and pretty soon half of the class wore it too. And it became a club rather than a stigma. So kids are very conscious of other kids having issues that they would like to solve for them. So that is the first piece of what we want kids to do. And the fact that kids choose their own problems and they're not given a problem, which is what other programs do. They supply a program, please build a bridge that can hold, this amount of weight. And we're going to give them one of those too, but it's not the key point of this program. The fact that they choose their own makes it far more compelling for each child to come up with a solution in that life. So
I think what's so amazing is that this program allows children to feel heard. It makes them feel like when they have an issue, when they have a problem that they bring to the table, other people want to help them resolve that problem. They want to listen, and the empathy is just a continuum. Are you stuck?
I'm stuck.
Frozen.
I am frozen, and I'm frozen to be able, I won't let me escape. There.
There you go.
Good, I'm happy. Hate to have that happen. So
can I ask a quick question? Is it appropriate to ask a question?
No, absolutely. I'm so sorry. If you have questions, feel free to just call them out or put them in chat or whatever you feel comfortable doing. So by all means, let's answer your questions.
Oh, sure. Thank you. I was just wondering, are there ever any parameters around like a theme for a problem? So
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so for example, if I was doing the Invention Convention in my chemistry class, have you seen success when kids are given a theme like around climate change? So created.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, we certainly can have them do that. Just as in Oakland, we were saying that the kids who were dealing with the Oakland Zoo, we're solving problems for animals at the zoo.
Right.
I mean, someone gave a very specific thing. We're,
I also was doing some work with Parallax, and they have robotics. And so I would give every team a robotics kit, and then they would work as with that as their starting platform. So whatever your program is, you can use that as the impetus of your driving question. All right.
so I'm going to start here because this is where I landed. And
some of the elements before that, there we go. We had the logbook. You want to start with that?
No, that's great. It wouldn't let me go back.
Yeah.
Okay, the logbook is, these are the elements that you are going to end up needing, that your kids are going to end up needing for the program. Every student needs a logbook. And we have a logbook that we have available on the website that we will give you the link for. It gives you the basic questions that we want answers to. It's what was your process? How did you ideate it? What research did you do? We want you to name 4 types of research you did, and research could end up being, I talked to my parents about whether this was something that would be useful for them. It could be that I did a Google search. It could be that I went to the USPTO site and looked up whether my idea existed. It could be that I looked on Amazon and saw if it was available yet. You know, I've had kids who thought their idea was completely unique and then went to Amazon and there was their idea. And so then we tell them, start thinking about a way to innovate, whatever it is that you are thinking of. How can you improve what you've already got? So we want them to document all of that in a logbook from the very beginning. And we'll talk a little bit further about that.
With my son's invention, he went and talked with the Parkinson's choir and talked about how music had helped all the patients and individuals who had Parkinson's. And he would come back on occasion to re-interview them and discuss some of the things that he had learned in his research.
And so we want also to have the student have a prototype. It doesn't have to be a working prototype. And today I was looking at, let's see if I have it very quickly. Let me just go back a tiny bit. Yeah, so I don't know if you can see this at all, but these were the idea for a giraffe toy was started as first just a car. It was all cardboard, and then the fellow created a cardboard cylinder, and then he added a triangle to it that could hang from a tree, and then he poked holes in that prototype. It is not fancy, but it worked for being able to demonstrate the toy that he would use for giraffes to be able to get their food. So that's another piece. It has to be a working or a non-working prototype, and it can be the actual invention. And display boards. We are not sure whether we're going to have display boards based on if it's a virtual convention, but we will have some way, either there will be a virtual display board that kids can make online, or you can actually get boards, the display boards from Synopsys Foundation. And we included a website at the bottom there that you can get your boards from. And they are available from Synopsys Foundation, and it's Synopsys with a Y at the end, not an I, up until the 19th of October. But if you ordered from them a class set of boards, they will send you a whole class set. And given that they're $10 a piece, that will be a huge savings for some of your kids. And if you don't end up using them this year, hopefully you have a little garage space you can stick them in for next.
Yeah, so they're sending it directly to my home, and then I'm going to disseminate that. I'll put the link in the chat, Brenda.
Okay. So what's essential is once your kids are going to talk about their invention with judges, they're going to do a live pitch, perhaps, and an online pitch. They definitely will do a video of their whole process. And that's where I'm saying that this teaches them such communication skills, and we will be in touch with them the whole time that they are getting ready with their videos, because we had kids who had their boards behind them, their display boards, and the way that they talked about them was like this. And they talked to their board the whole time, not remembering that they're going to communicate to a group of judges. We have a judging circle that we have 3 judges. They can be engineers or they could be the gardener right here. It's someone who cares about what students have to share. We never feel like it has to be a scientist who is the judge, but it's good to have one around if you have judges that have that kind of background. And the kids, we have 6 to 8 kids that participate in a group, and we have them share, each of those kids shares what they have. In the case of a virtual invention, we'll send those 3 judges who are the group judges, we will send them the 8 videos that they are responsible for, and they will watch them and they will rate them based on a training that we will do with all the judges before we do our convention. But if you're doing it at your school or at your local level, you may want to recruit some of your parents. You wouldn't want your parents to be judging their own kids' videos, but you certainly could have them judging others. And if you have people that you know from your optometrist or your dentist or your whatever, invite them to be a judge. People love judging. They love the whole process once they see what kids have created. So we have inventions that end up in lots of categories. We have 13 categories that we give prizes to, and we have many more now besides the 13 that have to do with agricultural kind of a thrust, or healthcare, or here food, educational tools, problem-solving games and toys. If it's a game or a toy, we want it to be something that truly solves a problem. So I have a young fellow right now whose problem is that he hates competitive games. And so he's creating a cooperative game that everyone has to be able to contribute to in order for anyone to win. So that is a kind of game that's an invention. Technology, and there are many other categories, and we'll show you those at some point. So here's another video of a young girl who invented something, and some of you have seen it.
Again, has this ever happened to you? You're trying to make a peanut butter sandwich, but it turns out all blobby. You have a dirty knife and there's a hole in your bread. And you just wish there was a better way. Well, now there is, thanks to peanut butter singles, your new best friend. Hi, I'm Natalie Forno, an 11-year-old 6th grader from Kegler Middle School in Middletown, Connecticut, and I'm the inventor of peanut butter singles. What is a peanut butter single, you ask? Well, a peanut butter single is an individually wrapped even slice of peanut butter that you can use to make the perfect peanut butter sandwich in just seconds. All you need to do is unwrap it, place it on your bread, peel away the wrapper, and voila, you're ready to enjoy. It gives you the perfect slice, and all you need to, and you just can do it in seconds. Let me show you how I made my prototype. First, I took 1/4 cup of flavored peanuts and a little bit of my secret ingredient and ran them through a food chopper to make my peanut butter. It came out of the blender like this, but you can easily roll it into a ball, and it makes the perfect peanut butter. It's a great consistency and an even better taste. Next, I rolled it out onto a piece of parchment paper with a rolling pin. I made it even and flat. This way, every slice of peanut butter is the perfect slice. All you need to do from here is transfer it into the wrapper. To transfer it, you take the wrapper, place it on the peanut butter single, flip the entire thing over, peel away the parchment paper, and there you go. You have your peanut butter single. This way, when you're on the go, you can take a piece of bread, your peanut butter single, and easily just unwrap it, put it on your bread, peel away the paper, and you got lunch. It's that simple. Peanut butter singles come in all different thicknesses, shapes, and sizes, so everyone can enjoy them. You could wrap it around fruits and vegetables or even make a bird feeder out of it. Peanut butter singles are only as limited as your imagination. I was inspired to create this when I was making lunch with me and my little sister. We were making a bit of a mess and it was tearing through the bread, and I kind of had to say, I can't have you help because it's too hard. So I decided, let's make a cheese sandwich instead. I started thinking, why can't peanut butter be like this? And then I realized it could. And now I've turned it into a reality. Along the way, I did face many hardships. At first, I tried to use store-bought peanut butter, which didn't work because it stuck to the paper. Next, I tried to refrigerate it to stiffen it a little so it wouldn't stick as much. It was an improvement, but it also didn't work. Then I tried to add some flavored gelatin to it. That didn't work either. Next, we tried to mix some very finely crushed peanuts to it. But when we took the peanuts out, it wasn't a powder, but more of a peanut butter. So we decided, let's try it out. And when we did, it worked. It was the perfect consistency, the perfect texture, and most importantly, it tasted phenomenal. We were over the moon. So next time you're at your favorite store, check for peanut butter singles coming to a store near you.
Okay, now she's a millionaire now. No, that's just a joke, but she certainly explained her whole process. You can see her invention log is right there on her board. And she explained the different iterations that she did of her idea, what worked, what failed, why it failed. And that's what we want kids to be able to do when they're explaining their process. So it's not just STEM that this falls into. I mean, this is STEM, it's STEAM, it's STREAM, it's everything it can possibly be. And we've seen it come right through an art class. We actually had an art class that was in Pajaro that the kids did it through that entry. It can be through language arts, it can be through writing, social studies. Any area has an entry to this because kids can be thinking of it just as you were saying, what about climate, the climate issues? That's one way of looking at it. It can be about reading levels. It can be about anything. So it's possible to have this come through in any of the domains that we are teaching. What's unique about Invention Convention is that it takes a concept from its beginning to the market. So it is not just about an activity or a set of activities. It's about conceiving of an idea that you then take through every single level. And it's like a Shark Tank experience. You know, you can imagine that kids would be able to go onto Shark Tank. And actually a few months ago, one of our kids did, a fellow from Connecticut also, who had a shovel that he was able to dig down, and it had the different gradations and told you what the depth was that the shovel was going. So he was able to get funded by the sharks on it. So it has so many implications for young people. And we'll get to another piece of the data in a minute. But this from Richard Riley, who was the Secretary of Education a while back. We're currently preparing students for jobs that don't exist yet, using technologies that haven't yet been invented in order to solve problems we don't even know are problems yet. This means so much to me because my whole reason for doing this is for this reason. Our kids have no idea what kind of jobs they're going to be going into. What we do know is that whatever job it is, every kid may not become an inventor, but every child will need to have problem-solving creativity skills, no matter where they land. I give an example of if a student ends up in the corner grocery store sweeping floors, that student better have some idea of how to keep that grocery store relevant if he or she wants to keep his or her job, because Amazon will gobble it up either otherwise. So we want kids to really be able to think, what can they do to keep ideas relevant and changing constantly?
You know, sometimes I hear, well, it's just a contest, and it's not just a contest. I had a student who participated the first year that I got involved with Brenda, and he had invented a device that indicated if a car was coming by the passenger door. And he had presented, but his presentation skills weren't the top of the class at that time. But his dad called me 2 years later and he said, I really messed up as a parent. I didn't follow my kid's idea. I didn't continue with this idea. And Hyundai has just filed and received a patent for the same idea my child had 1.5 years ago. He said, what my child learned from this experience was how to be a communicator, how to document his work, how to write about his thought process. And as a parent, I failed, but you made this opportunity available for him. And I said, you know, you didn't fail as a parent. You showed him that he has to be persistent and that his ideas are relevant and valid. And it's an amazing opportunity for kids to feel that their ideas matter.
Okay, so these are jobs that didn't exist 15 years ago. A mobile app developer, social media manager, cloud architects, sustainability manager, big data analyst, influencers, telemedicine physicians, AI engineer, a drone operator, user experience designers, genetic counselor, search engine optimization analyst. So those are just a few jobs that have come on, and there are many more by now that we could name. And in 15 more years, we are going to not even know what the job area looks like. So what we're doing is we're giving our kids 21st century skills, and we'll show you that in a minute. We are teaching them to become creative problem solvers, and we know that it doesn't matter what they go through. These are the skills that will help them. And this is just a real quick.
Molly, can you please take out the trash? Hey, Molly?
Class, let's turn to page 136, recessive traits in generation.
How's the new movement sequence going?
Great. Let me show you.
Please do.
I reprogrammed the robots to do the inspection. It's running much faster now. See?
It's amazing, Molly.
Thank you.
That's what we want. So here are some of the standards that each of these lessons meets, and each lesson has with it the actual NGSS standard that it meets, the Common Core standard it meets, the career training, technical education standard it meets, and the 21st century skills it meets. And there are pages and pages and pages of this. This is one sample of it. So if you have a principal who's wondering, why would you do this? It doesn't meet our standards. It does. You will discover that it meets just all the standards we need to be teaching kids. And if we are to look at why are we doing this, I don't know how many of you are familiar with something called the Lost Einsteins research, which was done by Raj Chetty. He is a professor presently at Harvard. He was at Stanford when he did this study. And what he discovered was that we are teaching to the top 1% of our kids in schools, at home. We have parents who are interested in things like this because they are educated, because they came out of educational places, and that we are not reaching the needs of so many of our kids that we need to be reaching. So our inventors are often not the kids that we are most interested in making sure have these skills. The people that we are not reaching, according to his study, are women, African Americans, Latinos, Southerners, low and middle income children, and they are far less likely to become inventors than the group of people that are presently inventors. Our society appears to be missing out on the most potential inventors from these groups. And these groups together make up most of the American population. So we need to really reevaluate what are we doing, how are we doing it, and how are we going to engage more of our kids in getting there. Imagine if all kids thought that they could be inventors. So when Julie Mason came in to Jennifer's class, she showed the slide, and I just took a picture of it. I was so fascinated by it. And one of the things she told us was that patents each year, the amount of patents that were filed in 2018 were 643,349 patents. 338,072 patents were issued. Of those 338,072 patents, 1/3 of them went to California inventors. So we are right here. We are with the kids that will be these inventors in the future. And it is up to us to make sure that we tap into it and get as diverse a group of kids that are doing this as possible. They are the change makers that are going to be the future. And we want to be the educators that make sure we did not leave them behind, as has happened in the past.
Our next guest is a young app creator who had the sweetest reaction when we told him he was coming on the show. Take a look.
Oh my gosh! No, hi!
Oh, Ellen wants you to come and be on her show next week.
What? No! Oh my God! No! Oh my gosh, thank you!
From Post Falls, Idaho, please welcome 12-year-old Alex Knoll. Hi!
Hi!
I am so happy to meet you.
This is so great.
Oh, you're so incredible. You're amazing. I learned about you because you wrote into the website and you told us about your app. Why did you write in?
Well, you're just my hero. Oh, I can't believe it. You're my hero, and just thank you so much for having me on. This is incredible.
Oh, well, thanks so much. Well, all right, so tell people about, he's creating this app to help people with disabilities, which is the most amazing thing. Tell people what you're doing.
Okay, well, Ability App will be a free app or website that will help people with disabilities navigate public spaces and find safe, reliable services and employment opportunities.
It's amazing. So, all right. So tell everybody why you wanted, how you had this idea.
Okay, well, it all started when I saw a man in a wheelchair and he couldn't open a manual door. So I wondered if there was an app that could have told him what other stores around the area had automatic doors. So that day I went home to do some research and I couldn't find anything like Ability App, so I created it.
So it's not like you had anyone in your family that you just saw a perfect stranger trying to get in a door, struggling, and you thought somebody should be able to look it up and find out where they could go. Unbelievable. Okay, so you have a prototype. Show everybody how you're going to try to get this thing to work.
Okay. Well, this is the homepage of Ability App.
Okay.
It shows all of the different businesses that you can select. So I'm going to click on hotels and travel.
Okay.
And the reason I'm going to do that is because, so hotels, when disabled people leave the comfort and safety and security of their own home, they don't know what obstacles they're going to face. And the hotels, they may say they're rated accessible, but they're not truly functional to them. So Ability app will tell them what hotels meet their needs. So on Ability app, you can see, okay, this is a list of the different hotels that they can select. So we'll click on this one, for example, if it doesn't. Okay, so it will show all of the disability friendly features available, and it will show a description of the business and all of the contact information. And people will be able to write reviews on the different businesses, so people actually know if it's accessible for them.
Right. Unbelievable. He's 12 years old and he's doing it. Unbelievable. So cool. So you have, and you've won all these awards. You won the Invent Idaho 2015 Best of Show at Regionals, 2015 Best of Show at State, AT&T Young Adventures Competition winner, 3M Young Scientist Challenge for Idaho, iCube Challenge, National Competition winner. I mean, and you deserve to win all these. This is amazing. So what's next for the app? How do you, because it's not ready yet, what's next?
Yeah, well, I have a prototype which I just showed of Ability app, and I still need to raise capital and funding to fully develop Ability app. But in the meantime, I spend my time public speaking and posting on social media about the struggles that people with disabilities face every day.
Okay, so here's what I want to do. I want to help you, and we have an amazing team here because we have, Heads Up app. We have a lot of apps, and we know what we're doing here. So I'm going to put you together with our team to help figure this out, to make it the best app you can possibly make it. And then you have a GoFundMe page. How much are you trying to raise?
Yes, I'm trying to raise $25,000. And so far I've raised about $350.
Okay, well, you're almost there. Okay, let me, get me in my checkbook. Where's my checkbook? Okay. All right. So, thanks. Now you're fired. Yeah. No. All right. So, no, it's just permanent. That's fine. So it's $25,000, right? Our friends at Shutterfly know about your app. They want to give you the funds to develop this with a check for $25,000. So
okay, I'm going to move ahead right here. It is not unusual for our kids to land in these places. We've had our kids on Jimmy Fallon. They call us regularly to see if we have inventors that might be capable of being spokespeople on there. You saw Alex at the beginning of this, where he is just a little kid, just enamored of Ellen. And as soon as he started talking about what he had created, he became the adult. And that is part of what happens to kids once they have the confidence to be able to explain what they've done. And Jennifer, you want to give a 1 second of where's Alex today?
Yeah, so I saw that Alex was at the new launch for Apple. When their new phone came out, they had him as a spokesperson. So he came out and helped with that launch. And his app has actually gone public. I saw that online just a while back. So it really can go places for children. First of all, I love that Brenda brought up that he was just a kid. We saw that there was a switch that went click, and he went into that Shark Tank mode, and he was selling his product. The same thing happens in your classroom when my students end up presenting to their peers. They're very, very critical of each other, but they're always listening. Every little nuance that their teammates, their classmates say to them, they listen to and they take to heart. When my students have gone to the national level or the state level, everyone in the room will say, we felt like we were going with you because we were such a part of the process of you getting there. And they all feel like they've contributed. Isn't that what we want in the world? Don't we just want everyone to feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves? Makes me tear up every time I think about my kids saying, we felt like we went with you because we helped you get there. So I just love that part of this program as well.
So we have a little activity that we would normally do with kids in the classroom, and we've tried to alter it some. We'll show you what the activity actually is. It looks like we have a problem right now. Welcome to Survivor. Welcome to Papa. Give me it. What's the pronunciation correct there? Yeah, well, in New Guinea.
Papa.
Thanks. So the challenge is, welcome to the jungle, build your shelter. It must be freestanding. It should not fall down on you when you are sleeping. It should be 6 inches off the ground. There are deadly snakes and contaminated water in the ground. It should bear weight of 5 marbles. It has to bear the weight of the sleepers and only include materials from the jungle. That's all you have. So that is the problem that the kids are faced with. What do you have around the house to build with? You may have toothpicks or rubber bands or cardstocks or tape or scissors. Well, we were a little concerned that perhaps kids won't even have that to choose, but we came up with a few items. What do you have to test your shelter? Do you have marbles? Do you have a bouncy ball? Do you have some small figurines? So I asked Jennifer to go home last night and build us a little structure. And what she came up with was, well, this is part of what we're going to ask the kids to do. So we said, welcome to the jungle. Your first task is to build your shelter. It must be freestanding. It should not fall down. It must be at least 2 inches off the ground. Deadly snakes. It must bear the weight of 5 marbles or a similar weight. And it has only the materials from the jungle. That's what you've got. So we came up with 6 paper clips, 3 pencils, 3 pieces of paper, tape and scissors. And that's what we give them to complete this task. And Jennifer gave a picture of what it was she did. Now, Jennifer, I can't help but wonder if Jennifer has the most, her family history is so outrageous that if we had another 3 hours, you could hear about her family. But Jennifer, I noticed that Mead was on the paper. Are you related to them too?
That's my last name, everyone.
Okay, we're going to move ahead, and here was Jennifer's structure, and that's what she used for the weight. But your kids might have, you know, something that would be similar, and come up with something like that. And if they can take a picture of it, you could talk about it virtually.
Just 1 piece of binder paper, 6 paper clips, and 3 pencils. And I didn't even allow myself to use tape. So you had to use those 3 items and then have it be weight bearing. So good luck. It was fun.
So after you do that, you can have them spend time exploring problems that are there, research the island, show clips from Survivor. I mean, you could do all sorts of stuff to extend the activities, provide students specific time limits, have them draw their ideas once before they start building, which is a really important skill for them to have as well. Once all the shelters have been tested, have them regroup and make changes to the shelters and offer a new challenge. Which shelter holds the most weight? So if we were to look at the Invention Convention set of standards that we've put together and the process for engineering design, you'll discover that we based what we ask kids to do on the engineering and design process. And so we want them to find a problem, do the background research that we were talking about, come up with a proposed solution, have them really think about that solution and see if they need to change it, ideate it over and over. They need to have the requirements really in their mind. It needs to do this, it needs to do that. Brainstorm their solution and develop a prototype and then test out their prototype. That is the most important piece, is they test it, then they retest it, then they redo it, and then they start again. And they go through that process several times. And if it's an IP item, something that's going to need a intellectual properties kind of a patent for it, then they need to be thinking about that as well along the way. They need to announce their invention and then license it and take it to market and be able to communicate what it is that they have done. So they are not going to all have the IP part of it or announcing their invention, or licensing it. but they will all be learning how to communicate about it, just as Alex Knoll did there. So we have identifying, understanding, ideating, designing, building, testing, redesigning, building, testing, and communicating. With communicating going through all of it. The invention log, which is available on our site, and we'll show you, but you can again use the different elements of it in your own log that you put together. Or today, the classroom I went into used a program called Figma. And I happen to have a crazy connection with it, which I won't tell you about right now, but Figma is an incredible program that can be used, an app that is free for educators. And we will have a person, hopefully, that will teach it to teachers. So we will have one of our workshops in the future be, how do you use Figma if you want your kids to use it? And that's what I was showing you today. The little steps were done in Figma. All of the identification of the process was done there. The research was done there. And it was a great way of explaining what your process is. So we want them to capture the journey. We don't want it to be a book report. We don't want it to be done at the end. We want it to start at the beginning of the process and then be able to be used from the very beginning to the end. If kids change their minds along the way, we want them to change their mind along the way and tell us why they changed their mind. And so that all becomes part of the log. It can be drawings. It can be whatever level a kid is at. It can be CAD work. And Figma will allow for you to use a CAD type of program as well in it. And we want people to record all that they are doing and show that all of the steps of NGSS and the science and engineering processes are being used. So we want them to have the real world skills. And this is what an inventor does. And this is how you can prove what you've been doing as an inventor. So the log explains the problem, identifies the solution, it creates and improves the design along the way. That's the different steps, ideating and designing. It builds the invention or prototype. It names the invention. It plans and creates the invention display board and practices what you will say about your invention. All of that is documented in the invention log. And I put the website up here for the invention log. We will make it available to you along with all of the videos we're showing. You can show them to your kids. The kids love these videos. Don't bind the log at the beginning. If your kids are going to run it as hard copy, you want it in a folder. You want them to have a folder. If you're able to get them a folder to keep it in, otherwise those papers will be all over their bedroom and they'll never put it together again. So you want them to keep it together. And you want them to use it every time they're thinking about their invention or interviewing someone or looking at the websites to research it. It can be written or typed, and these become something that are either online. We have an online version, and we can attach the link to that to the registration when kids register to go on to the state competition, or I'm sorry, they can end up uploading it to the Z-Fairs, which is what we use for registration. At the very end, they should staple it so it stays together. So we did the identifying a problem and the understanding part of it. And when they're identifying their problem, talk to the parents. We talked about all the different ways they can identify a problem. We want them to document every part of that. The understanding, again, is the research piece of it, and it's so important for them to research. Gosh, today I listened to a young lady who was researching the ball pythons and learned so much from her research about why she would have the toy that she was designing have different characteristics because of the research she did. And all of that she had in her invention log. They need to understand how big the problem is. And understanding it is, again, going to the different sites and figuring out whether their problem has been solved already before. They need to be able to innovate it. So they need to change it over and over and over. And our key word is failure. We want kids to fail. Fail is not a negative. in invention language. Fail is the positive, and it teaches kids how to improve upon what they were doing. I was telling a young fellow today, he was saying that he made a mistake and therefore his toy did this, and I showed him this, and I told him that this Post-its was a mistake that caused this to come about. So your mistakes are often what brings you to the next level of your invention, and it's critical for us not to look at mistakes as failure. The ideating piece is the kids just doing their invention at various levels, doing it over and over, and then through it, that's where they start developing their communication skills, and they learn how to brainstorm. So we want them to do a whole lot of brainstorming. And one of the activities that we use for brainstorming is Scamper. Jennifer, you want to talk just quickly about Scamper?
Yeah, so Scamper, if you go to the next slide, Brenda loves to do the Scamper with a whisk. And Scamper is actually an engineering term that means substitute for S, C for combine, A for adapt, M is modify, P put it to another use, E is eliminate, and R is rearrange. And so we ask students, if you could scamper an object, what would you do? With the whisk, Brenda has had people turn it into all different crazy objects. It's a flower, it's a hat, it's a pair of earrings. You add a motor and you turn it into a blender in your soup pot, and then your soup will never burn. So how can you alter an item that already exists and turn it into another use, turn it into another item? And so one of the things that I did with the PLC group was have each grade level given a different item at our school, and students at different grade levels are asked to scamper different items. In 4th grade, we received paper cups, and so some of the writing that goes into this Scamper is really fascinating. Part of our goal this year was to try and find different ways for kids to do a Scamper remotely. And so this is one of my students who did all this as a remote activity. He did everything to the cup. He got rid of the cup that I got to him in my big old brown paper bag back in August. I put all this stuff in there and everybody found this cup. Some of them were mushed, and well, he got rid of my cup. He brought in his own cups and he created a lighthouse and showed the process of how he scampered. I have a reluctant learner. He came to me with all these red flashes. Watch out for this guy. He's not going to do his best work. He doesn't like to communicate. And I never listen. This is my guy. He created a crown. He wears it every day to his Zoom meeting with us. It's part of his headset. And this is his Scamper of a cup that he turned into his kingly crown he wears every day. It brings out the best in kids, this Scamper activity. You can Scamper anything. We're going to be scampering a pirate idea if you were going to sell something at a pirate shop, and that's coming up next week. Kathy and I did scampering a taco. So, you know, how would you create a theme taco scamper? And we had kids create recipes. We had kids create placemats. We had kids talk about it. So don't be afraid to take whisks with your scampers. Do something unique, and as you invent, make sure they're recording their process on the recording sheet. And again, you'll find our remote recording sheets that are available online. through
Yeah,
the.
our website, just incidentally, is a pretty extensive website that's got all of what you need on it. And it's on the top of this. We'll send you the link to it. There's an educator button at the bottom of the homepage that will take you to the educator column that has everything you will need to do this program. It also has a link to the virtual curriculum that Jennifer created, and we will send you the recording for that virtual curriculum if you haven't already received it, and you will be able to see what you can do virtually with the kids to do this whole program. So here are just
using toilet paper rolls. That's great.
Yeah, just a crayon, you know, how do you scamper a crayon? What could you do to make it different? And then after they come up with a new item, you can extend it forever. How much would you sell it for? What kind of an ad would you do in a magazine? What would a TV commercial look like? Where would you sell the product? And they can come up with all that kind of information. So designing, building, and testing and retesting is our part of it. And so in the log, we have students start the process. So here's a student that had a shower for plants was his idea, and started with a drawing of it. So in the log, you had a drawing, and then ultimately it became this invention. And so this student took us through all the steps in the log to have it go from that drawing to that prototype. And again, they may change it over and over and over. The ideating is what we want to see. The whole engineering and design process, it does not have to be fancy. Kids have very little money sometimes. The most they can spend on an invention is $50, but they also can have very little at home. And with fires that have happened and devastated kids' homes, there are many kids who have nothing. And so a piece of paper can serve to create the prototype if need be. And last year we gave the same credit to the student who had their idea on a paper or out of cardboard as we did for someone who had a prototype, because what we're about is process. We want students to learn the process. So the winner of our convention last year, we've had winners at the state level that have been apps that have been very complicated inventions that have had robotics as part of it. But the winner last year was a young fellow whose dog had an overbite. Little did I know that dogs have overbites. Little did I know how many have overbites. It turns out that many small dogs have overbites. His dog was named Fred. And this student from Dano Root School was a fourth grader, and Maxim Integrated, where we usually hold our state convention, it's the largest chip creator in the world. They have our state convention there, and they give the Best of Show award. So usually they give it to these different kinds of older kid awards. He won the award last year for Best in Show. He took his grandmother's mirror that's on two little pieces that has a swinging mirror on it. You know, it has a stand where the mirror is attached. He took out the mirror and put his dog bowl in there instead of the mirror and tightened the screws and tipped it. And so now the dog could have the food straight ahead and he could just go in and eat it. And they felt it met their invention criteria. They have patent lawyers on staff. They have all of these people who felt it was simple and elegant. And that's why they awarded it to him. And Fred got a patent for his bowl, Doggy Fred, and he became a star in our videos. So it doesn't have to be complicated. It has to be something that solves a problem that is something that a student identifies. So the communication piece, we've spoken a lot about how important that piece is. And just being able to collaborate with other people. In a good year, we can have 2 people collaborating to create an invention. It's still possible. You could do it in a Zoom room. If students want to do that, they can do it at home on Zoom. So it's possible for 2 kids to work together, but that's been our limit because it costs a lot of money for the winners to go on to the National Invention Convention. And we don't want them to have $10,000 that it'll cost them to get to Dearborn, Michigan. And they've all raised it. 2 years ago when we went there, 48 of our kids were in Dearborn competing from California. The display board we've talked about, we'll see if we need it. Writing the presentation out and presenting the invention are all part of the communication part. And telling the story is their own personality becoming more evident. So here's what logs look like. Some of them are notebooks, some of them are the invention logs that we have. And any of it is acceptable if it contains all of the parts that we want in there. Again, the communication part of it, presenting the invention to the judges ultimately is something that we train the kids to be able to do. And the timeline that we have is from September to January is we do professional development. From October to December is school registration. And we will ask people to register as a school if they're going to participate. We hope you do. Once you get going, your kids will love this. We guarantee it. Or your money back. So that's what we can offer you. School registration ends in December, beginning of December. October to March, we want you to be doing the invention activities with your kids, brainstorming, designing, building, testing, evaluating, and the display boards and the log. Then by February 15th, you need to have held your own convention, either at your school. I know Kurt last year, he was stuck as we were right here in Santa Cruz because he got caught right in the middle of the schools closed and he had not held his convention yet, but he did a great job of having all of his kids do the videos, and he got judges virtually who did their convention, their own convention online virtually, and then the winners were sent on to us. So it is definitely doable. I know Kurt would help people to be able to make sure they can do it too. And prior to March 5th, we want you to register your students for finals at the state level. So by March 5th, they need to be doing the state level. And then our state finals, we just are switching again because I started working with Lemelson, MIT, Massachusetts took our date. They are just beginning the program and they took April 24th. So it may be that we will have you be ready by the week before that, April 15th or whatever that is, the week before it. So we will tell you shortly what the finals date is, that we will hold our final invention. And then we don't have to worry probably about fundraising. That's the joy this year. It's $2,500 for kids to go with a chaperone to Dearborn. But last year it was $35 per kid. So it was much more doable. And on June 2nd to 4th this year will be the nationals. And that's the timeline. You want to get your parents bought in. We have letters you can send out to your parents, a first letter. You want community involvement to have mentors be in classrooms. If you have someone who you know works at as an engineer for someone, they may be willing to be someone in the classroom. You'll have to figure out what your district requires for background checks, if they will be in a Zoom room, for instance, and not with you in the classroom meeting with the kids. But mentors can help with ideas. I was a mentor last year to a group of students. You just have them come on and listen to the ideas that kids have and give them suggestions. You want to have, if possible, some experts in areas that kids are interested in. And you want to have those people serve as judges at your local invention convention as well. And again, if they love doing the judging, have them come to us too for the state judging. We're going to have 300 kids this year at the state level, and we will be needing judges. We figured out we need 100 and some judges this year to do our judging. So other teachers, if you want to get other teachers at your school involved, have them be a judge at your event. Other teachers start seeing what the kids have created, and pretty soon they want to be doing it too. We have spread the program to all the kids we're doing through people who started, were trained, and then teachers at their school said, hey, this looks great. And Science Fair is a wonderful, wonderful program. The difference is that these are all kids initiated ideas that they have to follow this certain specific set of criteria for the convention. But we have fed right into the science, to science fairs, the Santa Cruz County Science Fair. We are part of that now as an invention program at the Science Fair. So you can see if where you are, you can feed into the Science Fair as well. Technology teachers are great for graphics or sending out an ad to the community. You may want to raise some money for materials for the kids, and you can have some local businesses where you are that are interested in helping fund you. And we will give you the resources that you need. We will send you the links. This is for the curriculum, for the national curriculum. And so, oh, it didn't let me do that. Okay. It just kept going. So we will send you the links, and we will send you the virtual curriculum. In California, almost every classroom is still going to be in a virtual mode for a while. So once you have that recording, you will have a much better feel and have a much better sense of comfort that you can do this program. I'm sure you're doing so many things now. There are no question that this is an add-on to a lot of things you're doing, but I guarantee you, you will be able to incorporate a lot of what you are doing into what this is. And we've heard that from so many people once they start looking at the standards and the standards this meets, and truly to get your kids feel confident in a world that is so crazy at the moment is a really big plus. This will build confidence. So that's our story, and we will get you what you need. And if you have any questions, you can get in touch with us if you leave today and haven't had questions answered. But we have some time. If you have some questions that you'd like us to answer about the program, we would love to hear it. So
I just put 2 links in the chat. One is the curriculum for the National Invention Convention, and the second is a direct link to the virtual curriculum that Brenda's posted that I wrote recently. So help yourself in the chat to those 2 links.
Okay, anyone have any questions that they have? Oh, let's see, we have a lot in the chat. Let's see. Second grade. Okay, so we have a lot of people's telling us if you didn't sign in with who you are and your email and what grade you teach, please do that in the chat so we'll have a record of it and be able to send you all the links that you'll need that we went through today. Okay, we have, oh yeah, we have Allison. Hi, Allison. Allison was here. I don't know if you're still on, but Allison is in Chicago, and she's the head of the Chicago Innovation Program. And she's got her teachers that she's about to be training too. Oh, she left us. Okay, so students use an empty toilet paper roll from a few weeks ago. Great. Okay, anyone have any questions for us that would help you with what you're doing?
A question.
Yeah, Mary.
How much time are we looking at in terms?
Okay, good question. This program can be done in 6 to 8 weeks, 1 hour a day. Okay, 1 hour a week. I'm sorry, 1 hour a week. If you want to do it that way, you would be able to, but that does not take into account all of the building of the prototype. Kids often do that at home. And the joy of doing that at home with parents is they all get involved. We don't want parents to be the people who are doing the actual building or come up with the idea or any piece of that. But we want them to be involved as a family in talking about what's needed, what the materials might be. If a kid needs to learn how to drill a hole in a piece of wood and hasn't used an electric drill, we want the parent to be able to show the student, how do you do that? If the hole ends up crooked, fine. We want a student to learn those skills. I was just on another, looking at another program that is now teaching those kinds of skills. It's a skills program specifically for girls, to learn how do you learn how to be a good driller and use the tools that will help you in your future. So there we want that to take place. That's what we're after. But you can do your part of it in that kind of time, or we have middle schools that have done it over a 6-week period. We have enough lessons that you would be able to do it every day for 6 weeks solidly and be doing it. So it's up to you, but you could accomplish those pieces in 1 hour, 6 to 10 weeks, we would say. So it's between 6 and 10 weeks, not a lot. Anyone else have anything they'd like to share?
Kathy.
I just wanted to add, so I teach kindergarten in Fremont, and for me, what I'm finding, the new virtual components to the program really lend themselves to, it really lends itself to students having that hands-on, because I don't want my I have to, in Fremont, where we have to be on live for 2 hours, sitting in front of a screen. And that is too much time for kindergartners to be in front of a screen. And so that time is broken up, but during their asynchronous time, it's like, okay, now I need you to go and build this, or now you're going to go and create this. I want them to be away from the computer. And this really lends itself, because they turn their computers off, and now they're working on their taco invention or their glasses invention. We did the Zoom glasses lesson. So I just want to put that out there for anyone that this is new to. It really gives the kids a chance to step away from the screen and give their eyeballs a break. Because now they're building, they're creating, they're inventing. So I just wanted to throw that out.
Thanks, Kathy. Anyone else have a question or a thought that they'd like to share? Okay, well, we are very grateful to each of you, as we said before, for choosing to share the time with us and being here together. If you have other people at your school who have any interest in this, it's a lot of fun to do it together. It is a lot of fun to do buddies, even high school classes with young kids. It is a wonderful opportunity for kids to meet with other kids and talk about all of these ideas. And my own feeling is we have lots of problems we're going to need to be solving in the years to come. And these are our kids that we're going to be relying on to help us in our future, help us get to our future. So if no one has anything else, thank you again. And we will send you what we have put together today. Okay, thanks everyone. Have a great rest of your day and have a great year. And don't even hesitate for a minute. If you have any questions in the future, just write. I instantly respond. Jennifer instantly responds. We will get back to you right away. Okay, have a great time.
Thanks,
Thank you, Brenda.
Brenda, thanks,
Yeah.
Jennifer.
Thank you, Jennifer. Stay well, all.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye, Kurt.